All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And as people arrive, I'll go ahead and let them in. I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for being here. My name is Rosel Medina, and I manage programs at Oregon Humanities. Our mission is to connect people and communities through conversation, storytelling, and participatory programs to inspire understanding and collaborative change. Oregon Humanities envisions an Oregon that invites diverse perspective, explores challenging questions, and strives for just communities. I also created this program, So Much Together, to celebrate the abundance of imaginative and collaborative work shaping lives in the land in the Pacific Northwest. I'm very happy that you all are here today, taking a little time during your day to visit with Karen Wolfgang, the co-founder of Oregon Climate Action Hub. I'm going to let Karen share her own story and her own perspective, so I won't do a lot in terms of an introduction. I've known Karen for a little over a year now, and I'm happy to know Karen and to collaborate occasionally. And it was sort of a natural fit when I thought about people doing this sort of imaginative and collaborative work around the theme. Around several of the themes I feel like that we're currently exploring, including green and joy and pain. So a lot of times we explore different themes that are related to the themes that our magazine is also exploring. And so happy to have Karen here to share her work. I'm assuming that you all know how to use Zoom pretty well. We will be doing some interaction in small groups. We're already kind of an intimate group, but we'll have some time later to explore things probably in pairs. At the bottom of the screen, you have your mute, stop video, etc. And also you'll be able to share the screen. Want to point out there will be some audio that we're exploring. So there is, when you push share screen in the lower left, there's a box that says share sound. So I'll encourage you to remember to use that function when it's time to engage with some of the interesting material that Karen's shared with us today. We'll hear from Karen now, and then I'm here to serve as a resource. Once again, just want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank Karen for sharing your work with us today. So excited to hear from you, and I'll hand things over to you, Karen.
All right, thanks, Rosel. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to go ahead and put a slideshow on because that's what we do. Everybody can see the slides here? Yep, okay. Great. So this is just a quick flow of the day for what we expect our time together to be like for anybody who likes to know what's coming. And also a map of Oregon native lands with encouragement to connect with respect to the stories, practices, and peoples who have been endlessly creative here since time immemorial. My name is Karen Wolfgang. I use she, her pronouns. I was born and raised in Portland and have lived in East Portland for almost 2 decades. I am an adoptive mom, co-parenting 2 multiracial, neurodiverse middle schoolers. I used to run a small sustainable home and garden business, and now I run a tiny climate-focused family foundation, as well as wearing several volunteer hats, including developing the Oregon Climate Action Hub, which we'll talk about a bit today. And as you can see here, my favorite creative medium is collage. This is the earliest collage that I could dig up that I seem to have held on to. So I scanned it into this presentation. And I may refer to collage sort of an embarrassing amount in this presentation, because I realized that it's a really good metaphor for the way that I approach a lot of things in my life. Intuiting value and significance in a variety of existing resources and finding meaning and bringing them together in new ways. Also, it creates a kaleidoscopic near chaos in my life that is held together by a beautiful, je ne sais quoi. It is a whole, but it's kind of really busy. And that's not for everyone, but that's my modus operandi. So I started having the initial conversations with people who would become my collaborators on the Oregon Climate Action Hub about the idea that became ORCA, we also call it ORCA, in February 2021. But throughout my life, I've been experimenting with different ways to, like, personally and sort of publicly, to turn what I now recognize as climate anxiety into hope for the future and actionable steps toward being part of the solution. So I wanted to highlight some of the personal practices that have kept me feeling engaged and moving forward during the first few years of this project. Collective practices are magic too. And as I prepared this presentation, I kept realizing that I had no idea how influenced my work generally and my work on the hub was by these creative practices. And if I thought I paid some attention to them, I might be able to be more intentional about integrating them going forward for myself, as well as, sharing some new types of practices or a new lens on what that looks like with y'all. So the personal practice rundown, what I listed here, body-based modalities. I like to go to lots of different types of practitioners, all of whom have a unique approach to supporting my physical self. And my favorite exercise class is, the only one really that I go to, is called Centergy. And that's music and movement, kind of athletic yoga. And it has become quite an important touch point for me. Dreaming, everything from the Pachamama Alliance Awakening the Dreamer course to like literal dreaming at night and writing down what I think I remember when I wake up. A lot of my dreams over the last couple of years have been like organizational development dreams, where the same types of structural questions will just kind of loop in my mind over time. So I've woken up many times to call up a new Google Doc and kind of write down the insights that I thought I had in that state about this project and others, but mostly this project. I like to practice Spotify divination, where I just put on my favorites on Spotify and somehow their AI or algorithm or whatever brings usually really appropriate music for whatever situation I'm in, and that never ceases to amaze me. I read a lot and seem to just collect, especially cli-fi, climate fiction books. And the new evolution of that is a book club through 350 PDX that I'm co-hosting, so that those many, many ideas that I'm exploring in my reading are also really vastly improved by engaging with other people on, what do they mean and what do they tell us about our work. And then I really like a practice called soul collage. Anybody heard of that? Nodding, shaking heads. Yeah. It's something I've been doing since I think 2017. And it's a modality that enables you to look at parts of self. So get sort of wisdom through a collage medium from different sort of committee members within your individual personality. And I found it to be really insightful and a good go-to when I'm struggling with, how to say something or how to do something, like take the next step. So I'd recommend that a lot if you're collage oriented like me. And in terms of the shared practices, my colleagues have assured me that I bring creativity to ORCA in, a variety of ways, many of which have become part of the DNA of the hub. And the three that they thought it was worth including here when I asked were conversations, the creative engagement in a variety of different conversations, some of which have been structured with a an approach called you, me, we, which really tries to get at, what each conversation partner is bringing to the situation and where the overlap is with shared needs or capacities. So insights from all directions, and lots of Google Doc notes on those conversations over the past 2.5 years. Yeah, so speaking of which, so many Google Docs. There are the documents themselves are maybe not the most exciting thing, but the practice of choosing tools and being flexible to the needs of the people that I'm working with, and that organizing information and input in a way that hopefully will set us up for long-term engagement with all that information so it doesn't get lost. And if somebody comes into the project and wants to know what's come before, they can find that information. That has felt like an important practice that is shared among the team. And of course, relationships as a creative act, especially, engaging with individuals obviously is that, but as an organization, finding the value in different people that come at different times with different capacities, and then go when their capacity reduces, that managing that ongoing flow, especially in an all volunteer organization where we don't have staff that we pay to stick around, at least theoretically. We really need to engage in what people are up for in that moment and what they have to give, and making sure that we offer them opportunities to bring their best creativity to the team. So yeah, this presentation did surprise me. I've never done anything quite like it. And I got to this point where I was feeling a lot of gratitude for the brain wiring that gives me kind of this ability to assimilate inputs and switch between things at a frenetic pace. I recognize it's not for everyone. And I am realizing at this point in my life that I have to wonder if my habitual sort of collaging of activities is actually sustainable. So my takeaway from Everything Everywhere All at Once was that it is an incredible gift, like a salvation level gift, to choose to be where you are instead of keeping moving from one possibility to another. And this Rope of History, which I would highly recommend, it's a really interesting read. It's a reminder that life is way too complicated to be a neat and tidy narrative. And in fact, there's so much going on that we collectively are arguably at every possible point on every possible narrative arc at every single moment. And the question isn't what is true, which story about now or the future or past is true, but which one do we choose to recognize and make our own? So the thinking that I'm doing after preparing for this presentation is that in a world of sometimes seemingly infinite possibilities, there is real power in embracing like my story, my positionality, and I'm curious about whether I might be able to generate something whole that's just mine if I relaxed with a looking elsewhere for the pieces of the puzzle approach. So I'm hitting 40 this year, so we'll see what kind of transformations that stage in my life brings. Maybe it means that I have to find some new habits and creative forms for my next phase. I'm open to that. So that's my future, and I think that's a lesson for maybe us collectively as well, is that the future is still full of possibilities, and creative practices of a variety of natures are helping to imagine it. So without going into any climate details, I'm really not going to talk about that at all. In short, our history and systems have put us on the brink of very big change. Navigating that change will require all of us to evaluate the practices we've been using, creative and otherwise, and explore new ones. Given what we see on the horizon, one of the loveliest sort of tools for imagining a positive future that I've run across is this beautiful painting that was commissioned by the climate resilience group at the University of Washington by an artist named Claire Sienna Seaman. And we're going to come back to this, but I will say that it has been part of inspiring our team to imagine a world where climate justice is business as usual, where all Oregon communities are resilient, and where each of us is able to live in ways that create a vibrant future for all. We also, we recognize, at our team that we can't get there with anything less than transformational collective action that engages all of us in positive responses to the situation we're in. There is powerful leadership all around us, plenty of good news and opportunities for everyone to jump in. And yet, there are a lot of people who haven't yet been activated to lend their own unique capacity to this transition. People want to act. Research shows that people want to be part of the transformational movement, and most say they don't know how. So what if they did? We think that everybody can take meaningful action, and it will take all of us leveraging the capacities we have to move forward to a livable future. But what do folks need to galvanize their engagement in that change? We need to support collective awareness about the work that's being done in our communities, in the state, and inspire people to engage with it. So the tool, the Oregon Climate Action Hub, is one piece of that, a collage, if you will, of a broad cross-section of what's happening in the movement. And sharing that with people who are ready to engage will, we hope, enable them or encourage them to start looking for what their way to engage in this movement might be. Speaking of which, how would you know if you found the right climate action for you? You might get a leg up if you kind of knew what you were looking for. And this is a brilliantly simple tool created by Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, which helps individuals get creatively introspective to suss out their own magical sweet spot of effective climate action. And we're going to see this again too. Each of our founding Orca team members, one way or another, found some aspect of the hub a good fit with their climate then. And like all of us, this team continues to learn and grow. We mobilized resources we had directly accessible to start with, and as we go forward, we're trying hard to match intent and impact, especially with respect to climate justice and engagement of diverse communities. But together, we have maintained a shared focus on this climate action, which is creating a freely available platform that showcases climate action opportunities and encourages people to find their place in the climate movement. Reaching all 4.2 million Oregonians, or rather the 70% who say they want to do something about climate change. So like 3 million people is our potential audience. That demands of us that we showcase diverse pathways and strategies and people, because we definitely recognize that not all action opportunities appeal to the same people, and we need way more people to find something that feels doable to them. And that is another collage that I made just last week at the Portland Public Schools Climate Summit. Yay. All right, so we're going to talk about the tool real quick. So the end user of the Oregon Climate Action Hub is the individual who is ready to take action. We've had almost 4,000 visitors in the past year and are about to hit 200 registered users. We have over 20 content posting organizational partners, and there's a lot of work left to do, especially around developing systems and processes and resources to support people exploring those action opportunities and utilizing the hub. A tool is just a tool, but what I call broadly the governance aspects of the hub are really ripe for creative engagement. So, real quick tour. The Oregon Climate Action Hub is online at orclimatehub.org. Some of the features include an organizational directory. So organization partners that have fully onboarded show up in the directory under Find an Organization. The events view shows opportunities that have, start and end dates and times and could go on your calendar. There's a sort and filter function that can help narrow down information that people see based on their areas of interest, the solution areas they're interested in exploring. And we have a current goal to flesh out resource posts for each solution area, which, by the way, the solution areas are not sacrosanct, like just about everything on the hub. That's open to feedback and engagement. If people want to see different solution areas, we'll talk about it. My favorite view is places, where you can look at things happening near you. And something funny about this is that opportunities that anyone across Oregon could do show up right in the middle of the state near Brothers, Oregon. That's that number 17 in the middle there. One thing we would love more feedback on is the multiple languages that are accessible through the hub. The Google service that is integrated on the platform offers a really long list of languages, but we'd like to understand better how this translates, so to speak, to greater accessibility. So if you or anybody you know are multilingual, we'd love to hear how that works for you. We are also on the socials, on Facebook and Instagram, and we're aiming that way to connect with and amplify our partners. But ultimately, we do want the hub to be the place that people go to explore those action opportunities. And finally, we consistently hear that Orca is a much needed resource, and it is continuing to improve based on user feedback. I think it's really worth noting that we're expecting to make our leadership internally more representative of racial and ethnic, geographic, and generational perspectives. Our expectation is that we will continue on our way toward a public launch, because all of what's happened thus far has been without any direct outreach to the public. So we're heading in that direction. And we expect to have a launch committee that reflects the commitments that I just mentioned. And we're also fundraising to do what several BIPOC-led and serving organizations have told us it would take to support their engagement, which is finding a way to fund staff capacity for engaging with the hub. So we really need to do this work in a way that does not take patterns of oppression forward into the world we're building together, that honors individual and organizational capacity, empowers every one of us, and consistently, through all aspects of the work, pursues a just and resilient future. So as I have been thinking about it, this is work for creative geniuses. And that is me and the Oregon Climate Action Hub. And as we close today, I invite you to, one, continue to use the resources that we presented today. Two, if you haven't done so already, go check out the Oregon Climate Action Hub and become a user if that appeals to you. If you are part of an organization that does climate action work, we'd love to have you as an organizational partner. The onboarding instructions are, there's many words, but it only takes about 15 minutes to become an organizational partner. And then you can post all of the action opportunities you have available. Of course, we do have roles open on the Orca team, and those are a post on the Hub, Volunteer with the Climate Action Hub. We're hoping to offer more stipended positions as we go forward and are successful with fundraising, which is my last ask. If you or people in your circle are in a position to support the Hub financially, we don't have a huge budget, but the goal for this next phase is to really, like I said, diversify the leadership within the organization and bring as many perspectives from all parts of Oregon, from all sort of racial and ethnic demographics, from all generations as well to this project, and make sure it's a engagement that is open to everybody and that's well supported. So don't forget these resources, use them in your lives if you can, or find something else that lights a spark for you as you pursue the work that you do in the world with creativity and collaboration.